Alright, so this is the streetcar variation of the Densha de Go franchise. For all 10 of you out there who wanna play this game, let's take a look at the line-specific rules and how to play the game. Alright, so this is the main menu of the game. Starting from the bottom, the last option is to quit the game, exit to Windows. Next, you have the options. Within options, first you have the game options, and as you can guess, these are the difficulty levels. They only seem to affect your time bank. So on easy, you will start with more time in your bank and your punishments won't be as harsh. While on very hard, you'll start with something like 16 seconds or so, and most punishments chop away 6 seconds at once, just like that. And then you have the door operation and announcement controls. Manual is the way to go, of course, it's half of the fun. Alright, going back, you have the sound options. You can change the volume of music, voices and sound effects if you'd like, that kind of stuff. Next are the screen options. Here you can disable the speed, distance and passenger reaction visual cues on the screen. And this last option is to change the screen position if you'd like. If you get lost, just look at the top of the screen and you'll know exactly which menu you're in. Going back to the main menu, the middle option is the gallery. Now, there are a lot of sub-items within each one of these options, but it helps if you know that from the first screen they are divided by each one of the lines you can play in the game. And that fifth option on the bottom is to check out the live videos you have unlocked. So within each one of the station options, the sub-menus are the same. There are historical explanations, information about the places you can visit, and gifts you can buy like food, a lot of stuff, but it's all in Japanese. Alright, now for the interesting part. The first option here is the tutorial. The second is the game itself, which you'll be spending most of your time. When you enter any of them, you can choose two game modes. The first is the relaxed mode, where all you need to do is control the speed and braking and not much else. You don't need to worry about speed limits, and even when you stop on the stations you have a huge margin for error, which makes this mode more boring than relaxing, but hey, if you like it, go for it. And the bottom option is the realistic mode, which is the one I'll be explaining for the rest of the video. Within the tutorial, you can get the tutorial for both the relaxed mode and the realistic mode. Okay, now for the mode you'll spend most of your time in if you decide to play this game. Within the real game option, you can also choose to play the relaxed mode or the realistic mode. So after you decide of whether you're gonna play the relaxed or realistic mode, you have the 4 different lines to choose from, each one on a different season of the year for you to enjoy. From their own website, each line is described like this. In spring, view the cherry blossoms in Matsuyama with the Iyo Railway. In the summer, watch the fireworks from the beach with the Enoshima Electric Railway. In the fall, enjoy the colors through the old city with the Keifuku Electric Railway. In the winter, travel through this snowy port town with the Hakodate Transportation Bureau. Okay, since the first 2 lines have the most complex rules, I'll start from the last one, Hakodate. From what I can tell, the only difference between the trains is just cosmetic. I mean, they have different visuals, different sounds, but nothing much else. Here you can see the different routes you can choose. As you play the game you unlock more, so let's go with this one for now. and then you can choose the time of the day. The last option is supposed to use the real-time clock from your computer settings. Alright, first things first. Before moving the train, you have to use the Q and W keys to operate the doors. Q opens and closes the doors on the left, and W the doors on the right. In this line, you just need to operate the doors on the left, so there's no need to worry about it right now. So make sure you close the doors before moving or you will be punished. The left and right arrows control the brakes. You can use some light steps just to adjust the brakes little by little if you'd like, or just hold it all the way up, which is usually a bad idea. The up and down arrows control the speed. Unlike the brakes, they have fixed positions, kinda like gears if you'd like. After leaving the stations, press Enter to make the announcements. If you forget to make an announcement, you of course get punished. The distance counter on the bottom left shows your distance to the next point of interest. So when it's blue, it's usually an intersection or speed limit, but we'll cover that later. In this case, it's the distance to the next intersection, and on the right you can see the timer. After green, it will turn yellow for 2 or 3 seconds, it's really quick, but if you cross while it's still yellow, you'll be safe, but otherwise you'll get a punishment. It's not worth the risk crossing on yellow unless you are very late. The distance counter on the left is now green, showing the distance to the next stop. On the top you can see, as usual as in any of the Densha de Go games, your go time and the current time. In this game you have a 30-second window to work with, so you can stop within 15 seconds either before or after the go time and you'll be fine. You can see the counter will become blue. In the relaxed mode, you're allowed to stop within the last 3 meters and you'll be fine. In the realistic mode, you have to stop within 1 meter of the goal. And if you end up short and have to accelerate again, you'll be punished, of course. All bonuses and punishments you get, they are added or subtracted when you reach the next station. Here I got a bonus for staying within the time schedule and one for stopping at the right position, and one punishment for braking too hard near the end, causing a passenger to fall. Alright, on to the next stop. Close the doors, start the train, and make the announcements. These triangular signs show up on all lines. You can also see them if you look on the power lines ahead. They might have different colors depending on the line, but they all have the same meaning, and that is that you're about to pass an area where the power lines intersect with others. So to prevent a short circuit, you have to cross that area with the power off. So all you have to do is turn off the engine, pass the area, wait for the signal, and turn it back on. You see that bar below the time counter with the G? It's called a G meter, and it shows how hard your braking is affecting the passengers inside. So it will fill up faster or slower depending on your braking. When it reaches the red area, someone will end up falling or getting hurt inside the train. The less you disturb that bar during the trip, the better your ranking will be in the end. But regardless of how careful you are, sometimes this kind of idiot shows up and there's nothing you can do. So the distance counters on the bottom left, they show how close you are to the next intersection when you need to stop. But sometimes your stop is right before a crossing, or you need to wait for another train to pass by or something like that. So if there's a red light and you don't see any numbers on the bottom left where it should show the distance to the next stop, just assume you should stay exactly put where you are until it's green again. Something pretty cool in this game is the option to change the cameras. Pressing V changes the cameras, while A, Z, S and X can be used to look around. If you press C, it will center the camera. Most of the intersections are street ones that affect both cars and trains, but some of them require that all traffic stops so the train can make a curve, like this one for example. The way this works is by having a switch on the tracks that you have to activate by yourself. So whenever you're waiting somewhere that doesn't have your regular traffic light colors, you need to get within at least 2 meters of the go distance shown on the left, which is where the switch is. When you activate it, you'll see it on screen, and then you just have to wait until you're clear to go. Okay, so that covers the basics for the game, and this line is special. Oh, and at the last station, regardless of how it looks, you always have to open the doors on your left. Alright, next is the Keifuku line. This line is probably the easiest one. There aren't any major things you need to worry about other than the occasional speed limitations or anything we haven't discussed in the previous line. That doesn't mean you can relax though. Sometimes you come across a speed limit, traffic lights and horn warnings all at the same time. And for some reason this line also gives you these warning screens, but they don't mean anything special from what I've seen. They just tell you to wait for the traffic lights or for the pedestrians to walk by, so don't worry about them very much. Sometimes the stations might be hard to spot, so keep an eye out on the counter on the left. Sometimes your eyes can deceive you. But overall this line can be finished without much trouble. Keep playing and you unlock the other route that goes uphill, which looks pretty neat. And how do you unlock more stuff, you ask? Well, just keep playing. Really, there's no secret, there's no trick to it, just keep playing and stacking the points. Even if you're having a crappy run, just play it through to the end. You will earn a couple of points and after some more runs, you unlock more new things.
ました。路線が増えましたよ。
Next is the Enoden line. This is probably one of the most popular streetcar lines, but it has something that can give you a headache if you're not careful.
出発進行。ピー。
お待たせいたしました。ご乗車ありがとうございます。この電車は江ノ島長谷方面鎌倉行きでございます。
So let's check out this first stop. Close the doors, remove the brakes, and let's go.
出発進行、圧力よし。次は石上です。
So this line is full of speed limitations, and this is how they work. The speed limit will be flashing on the right, meaning that you are about to enter an area with that speed limitation. On the left, you can see the distance until that area takes effect. So by the time you reach it, your speed has to be within the limits. Once you enter it, the sign will stop flashing, meaning it's active, and the distance shown on the left will tell you for how long it will last. It's simple when there's nothing else to worry about. Relax too much and you'll get punished like crazy. Alright, we can see the next station in the distance. In this line, and only this one, you need to make the announcements twice. Once when leaving the station, and one when nearing the next one. So the best way to remember this is to press enter to make the announcement as soon as you see the green distance counter show up on the left. Here the doors are on your right, so be careful not to mess up. Look here, there's a red light and no distance showing on the left, so don't you move the train and just wait. There are several occasions on which you have to use the horn like in the other games. In the other Densha de Go, it's usually a sign with an X in the center. On this one is whenever you see that sign with the W on the top left. And it's usually found in places where you're about to enter traffic or enter a tunnel and you need to give a warning. It's pretty easy to see, so whenever you see that W sign on the left, just press the spacebar. Don't ignore the traffic lights and distance meters. Like here for example, it doesn't look like it's a place where you have to stop, but you do, so keep an eye out for the distance meter. There's a lot of stuff to worry about in this line, so don't worry if you miss an announcement or two or open the wrong doors. It happens. It just takes some time getting used to, so just keep playing. If you find yourself with little time left on your bank, one option to help you is to use the horn on every crossing you pass, like this one. For every time you do that, you get 1 extra second on your bank. And last is the Iyo Railway. This line runs 90% of the time in the streets along with cars, so there are plenty of traffic lights and switches to work with. So don't forget to pay attention to the types of lights out there. If they apply to both cars and trains, they are timed ones. If they are just for the trains, you need to activate the switches yourself. So always try to stop within the last 2 meters and make sure you activate them or you get nowhere. This line also has something exclusive to it. It has a lot of different routes, and they all use the same rails in order to cover the whole city. So you need to take a good look at the map at the start and remember which ways you have to go. Operating the switches to change the lanes is easy as long as you know what you're doing. This is how they work. When you approach an intersection that separates into 2 different paths, this sign will show up on the left. Notice there's a light in the center. It's currently off, but there's a light in the center. If the light's off, that means you'll go to the left. If the light's on, you'll go to the right. If you notice on the rails, you see a set of 2 switches. They are the ones you have to use to decide which way you're gonna go. In order to activate the light and change the lanes to the right, you need to activate the first switch, wait 10 seconds, and activate the second one. You see a confirmation of that in the screen.
開通表示灯点灯往来 ポイント JR 行き往来
If you wanna go to the left, all you need to do is activate the first switch and the second switch under 10 seconds, so the light will stay off and the lane will change to the left. Sometimes, because of where the intersections are placed, you can't just afford to stop the tram for 10 seconds in middle of traffic, so the switches will be placed a little before on the rails. So keep an eye out for the sign when it shows up on the left on the screen.
Shingo Orai 右に曲がります。お立ちのお客様はご注意ください。信号往来に曲がります。お立ちのお客様はご注意ください。
So add that switch operation to everything else we have already discussed and you're good to go on this line. And that covers all of the lines. If I forgot to mention anything or you have any other doubts or anything, feel free to ask in the comments. Like I said before, even if you end up having a bad run where you get several punishments, just keep going until the end. You'll get some points anyway and eventually unlock more stuff. And the most important thing, just have fun and enjoy the game.